Three, two, one. We're live with another. Oh gosh, wow, that was terrible. I'm so sorry for your ears. This is another another round of Global Podcast Editors where we talk about the challenges and successes of being a podcast editor for clients. We talk about the technical, business, and creative side of doing what we do. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the community itself and where we exist online, and then we will go into the elevator pitches for our lovely guests joining us today, as well as the challenges that they're facing. We have somebody in the chat room already. That's so cool. Welcome, everybody in the chat room. Feel free to leave questions anytime you want. We will get to them as we can. Global Podcast Editors is in existence in a few places online, one of which is, of course, in this video over on YouTube. It's recorded live and left there, so you can also read the chat room conversations. And then it's repurposed as a podcast, which is available wherever podcasts hang out. Just look for Global Podcast Editors. We also have two different kinds of newsletters housed on Substack, all under the Global Podcast Editors name, and we are keeping the LinkedIn group despite my my thought that we might not. It's a quiet group, so I was kind of thinking it wasn't. Well, anyway, I'm supposed to be quick about this. Anyway, we have a LinkedIn group that is going to keep persevering through the silence and keep whatever conversations are happening over there happening. That is it for Global Podcast Editors. And now I'm really excited to introduce our editors that are joining us today. And they're going to, okay, so let's start off. Alex, can you tell us, when people ask you what you do in podcasting, what is your elevator pitch?
My elevator pitch. So, hey, everyone. I am Alexandra Stennett. I'm the co-founder of Amazing Gains Limited, which our website is that listens to clients. And what we do is that we focus on helping brands to come closer to their clients. And the people we work with tend to be mostly coaches and consultants who are really expert-led businesses. And we help them not only with post-production, but also with launch and growing their podcast to actually see the business results coming in from the work that they're doing in their podcast.
Great. And you're coming to us from?
Kingston, Jamaica.
Yeah.
At 4 a.m.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, let's go in that time zone, shall we? Steve, what's your elevator pitch?
Hi, I'm Steve Stewart. I am in St. Louis, Missouri. It's 5 a.m. actually right now. We've changed to the next hour. I am the founder of the Podcast Editors Club Facebook group, where we should be at 8,000 members by September 2022, which is amazing. I also co-founded the Podcast Editor Academy with my business partner, Mark Deal, which is where we help podcast editors such as yourselves start and grow podcast editing businesses. And this will be the first public announcement because Mark and I haven't actually set it all up yet, but it's on the books. We will be hosting the second Podcast Editors Conference on August 23rd, the first day of Podcast Movement at Podcast Movement. It's in the books. It's going to come down. So if you're interested, you'll learn more. Sign up to my newsletter at podcasteditoracademy.com/newsletter. How's that?
Wow, that's so cool. Is there going to be a virtual component at all, or is it all in person?
Not like a hybrid, no, but there will be recordings. So there will be a traditional virtual ticket, not a streaming live type of virtual ticket.
Gotcha.
Unless we can make a lot of money real quick and pay for that. I don't see it happening, though.
Whew, let's do it. And Steve, you're coming to us from?
St. Louis, Missouri, 5 a.m. Yes.
Wow.
Did it all for you and Alex and Neil.
And Neil and I are cheating. We're in the regular awake time. Neil, what's your elevator pitch?
Oh, do you know what? I think I might be in the wrong chat because I've got brilliant people around me, and I'm no way can I compete in this elevator pitching. But I mean, I'll give it my best shot. Podnose Podcasting is my business, and what I do, I guess, I call it LTV podcasting, long-term value podcasting. In other words, for brands and businesses that want to see the whole podcasting journey from beginning to eventual success. So there's, with that, it's launch, it's strategy, it's storytelling, it's, casting, research, all that stuff. And then obviously the publishing and marketing side as well. So in a nutshell, that's really what it is.
LTV. Love that. All right.
Trademarked. Don't steal it.
I won't, but I really do want that green background. That is so solid and poppy. That's really cool. Okay, and I'm Steph Fuccio. I'm the host of this, as well as a podcast editor for clients. And I write about podcasts and I do a whole bunch of stuff. StephFuccio.com. When you can see the spelling of my name here is where you can find absolutely everything, I hope, that I do online. All right, let's dive into the challenges. Does anybody have a burning challenge and they want to go first? This is usually where the crickets come in. Steve, yes, take it away.
Actually, I was pointing the cameras to Alex, but maybe she's not on the top like I am. But I'll go
I
ahead
thought
and
you were
take
just excited, like,
that would be
hey.
2 fingers. Okay. Oh, actually, it's not a recent challenge. It's a challenge I've been fighting for about a month and a half now. And it really bubbled to the surface when I went to a conference at the end of April. And I worked my butt off to get there. And I had just taken on a new client and added a new service. Now, I like to edit. I like to be able to say that I just edit. That's all I want to do is edit my client's audio, get their episodes done, give them great customer service. But I had some new clients who were asking about show notes. I'm like, you know what? It's time. I have a client that I work with, a person who white labels show notes, but now I have to really get into it. So I've got somebody else who has written 7 novels, 2 recipe books, 1 kids book, and wants to get into writing show notes. Great. She's also my wife. So I'm going to be able to lean on her pretty easily to do some basic show notes, not the big article type blog post things. So I go to this conference, I come back, and I'm just swamped again because I've had like half of my clients have come up with a change last minute, wanted to add something. I'm like, everybody knows I'm away and I could come back. It's not their problem, it's my problem. But adding that extra aspect to it should have helped me, right? I've got a little more help. I can do the show, have somebody else do all that work for the show notes part. And I come back and it just seemed like I had never really done anything before I left. So scaling is the big problem, growing that team and growing I also have 4 contractors now that do some of the audio editing because I can't do it all myself. And they've been trained by me. They've taken a class by me. They're excellent. Some have been with me for, gosh, it seems like almost 4 years now. So the problem with scaling was I just wasn't able to go, not have to work, come back, not have like the accordion filled back up again, and I can squeeze it tight to get it empty because of some of the new tasks and a lot of the clients changing. I need to hand off some of that stuff to another person who can either manage the management of the things or can do some of the work where I can manage the things. That's my challenge. What do you guys think?
Hugely relatable, actually, Steve. I must admit. I mean, I'll get into my personal editing challenge in a moment, I guess, but there's a lot of that resonates with me. The whole, knowing which bits to focus on and who you can utilize to help you do the bits that you're not quite as good at is something in the last year. And Steph, you'll know because we've known each other a while now, what a perfectionist I am and how I really get in my own way in a lot of things. And I think you identifying, Steve, that person that you can turn to, that you can trust, that has learned from you, that's a massive win. And it's certainly something that I'm aspiring to get towards. I've done the whole thing in the past of, you've been snowed under and you're like, I'm just going to turn to Fiverr. And then what you get back is just atrocious and you can't use it. And when you're facing clients and you've got to present this audio to them, there's no, will you use somebody on Fiverr? So I totally forgive you for the drop in quality. You just can't do that. So what you've achieved is very admirable. Well done.
Thanks. I've been lucky where I was able to find some people who would take the class, stick with it, and then did a great job at it and wanted to continue working as a contractor. Yeah, that was a smart move. Everybody should do that, by the way. If you can get people to pay you to do a class, even if you charge $100, they're committed. Teach them how you edit and then hire them.
And that's the thing is that outsourcing, oh my gosh, there's so much. It's like passive income. It's not really passive for quite a while. And outsourcing, there's so much at the beginning, there's so much time and effort and energy and communication that you need to have with the people to get them to do the things the way they need to be done, the way you like them to be done, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of extra work at the beginning. So bringing anybody on and making it work is impressive, but ugh, yeah, I don't know. I haven't figured it out. I've tried to bring people in and it's not gone well. And I've been like, hold on, I got to catch up now. And I'll like do it all again myself and then try someone else. And I just keep going on the same hamster wheel of doing that. So yeah, I don't know. So wait, Steve, it's the problem now is that you want to outsource more or that you
In order to scale, in order to grow,
Yeah.
and businesses have to grow, otherwise they die. They have to grow. Things change all the time. Clients
Mhm.
move. It has to grow. So, do I keep adding on more services? I
Mhm.
shouldn't be asking that as a question. I have to keep adding on more services because, especially in this day and age, the type of person who's coming to podcasting that will pay good money for the services doesn't just want someone to just edit the audio.
Mhm.
Most of the time, they like doing a lot of things themselves, but they can't, just like me. So I need to find people who can step into those roles, and I can release some of my control. I have control over everything, and I like that. But I need to let some of that go so that I can then grow the thing to being more services, especially someday getting into video. I feel like that's a more normal transition than show notes. But if I can get somebody else to do show notes, I'm happy. But even the quality control on that can take some
Mhm.
time. So now there's got to be somebody who can do quality control. And if I get to be as big as, Daryl Darnell's got close to 200 clients, that's, that's an undertaking that requires processes, it requires resources. I believe Daryl is building his own management system, back-end management system, to take place of all the little tools that, we'd like to use, Calendly and Asana, and I
Mhm.
guess he's doing something himself.
Do we
I'm nowhere near that.
always have to grow? Do we always have to get bigger and bigger and bigger?
Mhm.
Why?
Depends on what your long term is. Are you just doing
Yeah.
this for a little while and then you want to move into something else? Or is this like what you want to do for a while? Because I agree with Steve, and I'm having similar problems to what all of you guys are saying. Not quite as far along as you with
Yeah.
having several team members, but I agree. And I don't know, it's kind of a balancing act of figuring out which services. Yes, you want to add on services. Yes, you want
Mhm.
to go higher up the value ladder, essentially, because as you said, people are less satisfied with like, oh, just edit it, because like, we have this script and everything else that's like coming. So editing is not looking so valuable on its own anymore either. But which services do you add? Like, is show notes the thing? Is there some other marketing thing? How do you kind of find that balance of what can you deliver that's at the high level? Because you can do editing at a very high level, and so you want to make
Mhm.
sure that the other services that you're offering, the new things, are at that level as well. So I don't have an answer. Just
May
resonate with
I
the
answer
difficulty.
your question there, Alexandra? I think that the answer for me to your what do you add? What is the service you add? Which I think for all of us, and in fact, anybody that is in this business that's watching this right now, I think the thing that you have to now channel and focus your energy towards is results. It's the one niche
Mm.
that's not been filled in branded podcasting.
Yeah.
Any schmo can set up an editing service. And as you said, it's not as valuable now. When I started doing this full time, which was a couple of years ago, I sold on the quality of the edits. I sold on the quality of the production, the sound design, the fact that other podcasts in the chart were, sounding like somebody had recorded it through their shoe. The quality I was able to bring to these clients was exceptionally higher, to the fact that that was what was drawing the clients in. But now, because podcasting has grown so much and it's become so mainstream, even for corporate level branding experts that are saying, we really should get into this podcasting thing because our competitors seem to have a lot of luck with it. But the difference is they're just putting content out. That's it. You look at
Mhm.
any company, they're putting out podcasts, but they're turning up ranked 452 out of 3,000 podcasts of each category. So
Mm.
for me, if you want to scale, what you have to do is you have to almost reverse engineer it and say, this is where I need to get my clients to. How do I get them there? Which is
Mhm.
certainly how I'm working towards. And it's more than just the editing. It's about understanding publishing. It's about understanding social media, how that works. It's about understanding which social media platforms work for podcasting, because Mark Asquith was talking about this just the other day and saying that, the reason Facebook didn't work for podcasts, people aren't really, going through their Facebook scrolling, looking for audio. They're literally doing something, in the pub while they've got 5 minutes to kill, while their friends at the bar ordering drinks, or, they're on the train. They're not in the listening mode. Whereas with TikTok and other channels, and certainly LinkedIn, which I'm finding is brilliant for podcast content, because obviously people are scrolling through there, but they're in that mind of consuming knowledge and wisdom and business and articulating their messages. So for me, Alexandra, that is really what it's about. It's about understanding how can I get my business, my service offerings to achieve those provable results that are then going to be exciting to clients.
And I agree. And that's a very similar thing that both of us are doing, I think, because that's the angle that we have been coming with our clients at. Because I don't like, what's the point of you spending all this money to launch this podcast and do these things, and then 3 people listen to your show every week?
Yep.
But it sounds so good.
There are people who do it for years, and they're like, no, I have 50 listeners. Okay, but none of those 50 have ever engaged with you. So what are you really achieving here? So I totally agree. But I think even within that, that's why it's important for us to do the work within our business, because the type of client that you have is really going to dictate the type of service, because there are many different results that different people are looking for. So what a corporate would want is totally different from what maybe a coaching and niche services offering wants to get. So for me, like, my clients don't care about ranking on the charts, because they're never going to rank on the charts. It's just not going to happen. But they can fill up their booking, their calls, their one-on-one services, and make good money off of it, because they have their core audience. So like tapping into who is my client and then figuring out the service that they want, it's been a little like, that's where my focus has been in the growth. So I think there is also an element of like testing.
And if I could go back to Steph's original question, was, do we have to grow? I mean, do businesses have to grow? Yes, they do. And it sounds like, oh my gosh, now I got to, expand to, we work, I don't know if you guys saw the WeWork documentary on Apple Plus. It was fantastic, but grow, and then just collapse. It's not like that. It's actually a lot more gradual to grow, or at least the need to grow. And the reason for that is because the environment changes, things change. I mean, look what the script is doing for audio and video editing. I mean, there's some automation tools in there. Guess what? If we don't use them and other people do, they might find some efficiencies and be able to do things that we can't. We need to be getting better at what we do. Plus the tools change. Think about all the media hosts. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about media hosts. They weren't sure which ones to go to and stuff like that. And I listed a couple of them, and they're like, so where is your show hosted? Now, I retired my show back in 2015. And when I launched it in 2010, there were very few media hosts. So there's a big change in the number of choices that we have in that area. And you, as a podcast editor or a coach or a manager, need to know some of that stuff. What's the difference between a Libsyn and a Captivate? What's the benefit? Can you pick a better media host for their show before they launch, so that they don't come back to you? And this has just happened to me 3 years later saying, hey, I want to start inserting ads. Okay, well, your media host doesn't have that capability. In fact, when it launched, there was only like 1 that had the capability. Now there's like 5. So this is, you have to grow, you have to advance. You also need to raise your rates along the way, which I'm finally getting around to doing again. Just because if I didn't, I'd be left behind. That's what it is.
And I was playing devil's advocate a tiny bit, because I am at my heart a lifelong learner. But then again, I wasn't, because I do think some people think they have to work themselves to death keeping up with the competition. And a lot of times it's just tiny tweaks in how you do what you do, or diving more into the niche than necessarily growing numbers wise, like just how many clients or something like that. Like, it doesn't have to be just, I have to make more money every year. There's different, I guess there's different definitions of grow, different definitions. That's very hard to say. We got a comment in the chat room, folks. Chrissa Stowe, podcast coach, says, hey, everyone. I was looking forward to this chat. Thanks, Steve, for reminding me through email. Thank you, Steve.
It works. Email works.
Yeah.
I'm trying to grow that too.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so addicted to newsletters. But anyway, Alex, what is your challenge?
So Steve stole my homework, but basically my challenge is that I have worked with contractors in the past, but had a similar experience. They did a couple and or had people who like they were great, and then after 2 episodes, they're like, I'm gonna double my rate, which obviously didn't work for my margin. So I have my first person that I've had for a while. She's been with me for 2 months now, and so my challenge is ongoing, but it's kind of the same control issue. Like figuring, I really had to drill down and figure out what is actually important. Like I don't want to go back to her and complain about petty things that are actually nobody would care except me, which there are things that we do that like nobody would care. At least I do. So it's kind of managing that, and I'm also just trying to scale. So it's growing pains. So things like figuring out what an admin assistant who I spoke to can do very quickly and efficiently that will take me a long time to slog through. So trying to kind of, I guess, efficiencies in business rather than just doing what I used to do when it was just me alone, trying to kind of scale better. So
Mhm.
that's the challenge. The challenge is
Yeah.
figuring out the most efficient ways to go about it. Now that I'm building a team.
I love talking about workflow and efficiency stuff. Neil or Steve, have you found any new efficiency tips and things that have helped you recently?
Oh, so many. But Steve, please be my guest. Go ahead.
Well, she changed the question, so I'm thinking it through right now. You go first, Neil.
Damn! I was hoping to buy some
You've
time
been
too. Okay.
voluntold.
I mean, we've all mentioned it, and I think for me, as long as it's used, I'm going to sound controversial. That's nothing new, Steph. You know me. As long as it's used cleverly and sensibly, Descript is an incredible tool. When I say used sensibly, don't do what one well-known industry podcast does and hit apply to all on the filler word removal tool, because you are going to end up with an absolute mess. And despite the fact that this podcast has been told by listeners that they read on their own show, they still insist on hitting the apply to all. Now I get it. Listen, we're all there. We all have like, oh my God, I got 4 podcast episodes to release tomorrow and I haven't even started the initial sweep yet. Oh, how do I get this done within an hour? I don't have an hour. And it can be really tempting to just cut that corner. But for me, it's about understanding the best parts of each of the tools. So for me, Descript is a great way of getting the initial transcript, because then what that does, certainly if you're not working from a template, which, let's be honest about it, most business owners and podcasters themselves are very busy. They don't necessarily have the time to follow our strict instructions that we give them from the beginning, and they'll just hack something together. And so, Descript acts as a brilliant way of getting an outline of what the show's about, what the episode's about, that you can then pick out the individual bits of narrative that you can then sort of take some structure and apply that to the edit. So it's really useful for that. And also, filler word removal is really good. It's when I started out, back in the day, years ago, it was literally every breath, and that was how we used to do it in broadcasting, which is my background, because loud breaths were horrible on the air. So we had to painstakingly take them out. But now you can do that in, as long as you're doing it properly, within about 10 to 15 minutes for an hour of audio, quite easily, as opposed to the 3 hours that it would have taken previously. So for me, Descript has been an absolute lifesaver. I love those guys. I think what they're doing is brilliant. It's only going to get better once they figured out the algorithm, the AI that actually defines what an is versus an and or an which they're getting there. It's a lot better than it was. And then for me, it's again a controversial one, but again used sensibly. What used to be Jarvis, Jasper, brilliant for show notes, because all you got to do is tell it the basics of what you want. You've then got your which you wouldn't want to go with, but you can then work through it and go, oh, that bit's good, that bit's good, I'll fill the blank in here. So I think Jasper, as it's now called, and Descript have, for me, they haven't saved hours, but they've certainly saved minutes in my workflow.
Oh, thank you. That reminds me of something. I've been playing with chapters in Hindenburg for the podcast, and although it's an absolute mess right now, not because of Hindenburg, it's the podcast apps. Actually taking timestamps of the chapters and putting keywords next to them helps me write show notes so much faster. Like summary show notes makes me write show notes. So, and I used to take notes anyway, but taking notes in like a timely fashion, like a chronological fashion, is just I don't know why, but it speeds up my show note taking. It gives me a big picture view of the summary and all that kind of stuff. So that is my most recent workflow thing. Steve, what about you?
Probably the most recent efficiency I've found is when somebody gives me bad audio, and this sounds like another big ad for Descript, I go and run it through and get the studio sound on, because I haven't confirmed this, but I talked with a couple of people at Podfest. It seems like this is the issue. If you know anything about Descript, they have an overdub feature, which allows a person to read a 10-minute script, and the AI of Descript learns your voice, and then it can recreate your voice. You just type in words, it will say it for you in your voice. Now, it's not perfect. It still sounds a little bit less human, but if you take that same AI and you apply it to studio sound, what I believe it's doing, I'm not saying this is how it's working, but I'm feeling this is how it's working. It sounds like it's recreating the voice where it needs to take out the noise that's in the background, so that you're hearing the voice, some of the background, but not all. So it's all kind of like, you can't just silence things when you're like, if you silence a breath, it can be very abrupt, but if you put room tone in the background, that makes it sound like nothing ever happened. This might be the similar type of thing. I'm guessing, but because I can just throw it over there and don't have to sit in RX and try to do all the de-reverb and the EQing and everything there for 10 minutes, I can just throw it into Descript, run it, start doing other things, and becoming more efficient because I'm doing two things at once.
Those are really helpful. Quite a couple tips there. My jotting. Thanks, guys.
Fantastic. Yeah, seriously. All right, Neil, what's your challenge, your recent challenge?
Controversial again. Seems to be a bit of a running theme, I guess.
What?
My biggest challenge is, so we sort of touched on it a little bit with, using things sensibly. I think for me, we're not quite there yet in terms of remote recording software. It's great. Don't get me wrong. It's good. It's very, very good. It's not brilliant. And so there are maybe one or two standout utilities that most podcasters are using. I probably don't have to name them, because if I just say a body of water and a structure next to it, you'll probably get an idea of what I'm talking about with that one. And then of course there's there's Zencastr, there's all sorts of different tools. They all do different things really well. What they're not all great at is the thing they're meant to be doing, which is recording the audio. And for me, a big challenge is that because lots of people use said recording tool for recording their content, what invariably happens is there's too many options that they can choose, and they switch them all on, which then leaves you with this muddy mess of audio that, even though it's supposed to be recording locally, can be very glitchy because of all the software that's at play behind the scenes. Go on.
So is the challenge in training people how to not mess up the recording with the software, or is the challenge just that the softwares aren't great yet?
No, well, it's a bit of both. However, what I think the onus is on the software to be very sensible about what options and features it's offering for its usual typical user base. Most of the people using it are probably not pros. They're probably coming at this for the first time. They probably had a great idea. Oh, I'm going to start a podcast for my business. Or, even individuals and solopreneurs, I'm going to start a podcast to talk about what I do. I know nothing about podcasting. I'm just going to sign up for this software because it seems really good. And then, of course, what you're being given is all these Studio Pro level options of remove the background noise, stick essentially a gate, which, as we will know as professionals at this game, gates can be abused. There is a real sweet spot between, a gate that's doing its job and a gate that's just completely destroying your audio. And for me, the onus is mostly on the software company to understand their user base and perhaps offer those as optional extras on a higher price point that maybe more professional people will be able to afford. But also the onus is on us to be able to train them, and try and hammer home that whole point of, okay, so you're going to use this software, but please understand, that's what I'm for. making you sound good. That's my job, not the job of your cheap recording software that is doing one job and needs to do it as efficiently as it can. And I think my biggest challenge from that is there's an issue with drifting. I don't know if anybody else here has experienced that, but if somebody's recording in one of these software tools and they don't know what they're doing, sometimes the audio can really get out of drift. So if you've got 3 or 4 speakers and they're all on this one tool, you've got one of 20 minutes, one of 40 minutes, one of an hour and 20 minutes. And it just depends on, I mean, I don't even know how it works, but go ahead.
I moved 2 of my clients off of a very popular platform for that very reason, because I just could not figure out why it kept doing it. And it kept having things out of sync or drifting or whatever the exact term is multiple times. It wasn't like I moved it once and then it was fine. It kept getting out of sync. And I was like, look, I've tried everything. It's got to be the recording software. And as soon as we moved them off, it worked again. Or it was normal.
The very popular recording software that many people use, if it's the same one we're speaking of, muting it makes the track drift.
Right.
So my lovely client's co-host, who always is traveling and in airports and all these fantastic things, thinks that she's being kind by muting when she's not the primary speaker. And then her track is like tiny and everybody else's track is big.
Yeah.
And you're like moving each segment along.
Yeah. It's such a nightmare. It's such a nightmare. But we actually got another comment in the chat room. Philippe, I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name because I will do bad things. Do you think experience helps saving time with editing? Wow. Meaning after a while, you know which edits to attempt and which ones to let go. Thoughts?
Yes,
I love
yes,
this
yes.
question. It's such a good one.
Yes, yes, yes. And if we go back to the efficiency talk again, I mean, learning keyboard shortcuts, if you could program their way, that was key to my efficiency right there. Was just getting keyboard shortcuts that I can use on my left hand and keep my right hand on my mouse. So my eyes are always on the screen, that don't have to jump back and, oh, where's that P, on the keyboard. That's a big one. And then having multiple monitors. I used to have 3 and I loved it. I'm back to 2 and I can feel the efficiency just seeping away slowly, because I don't have that third one over here, which has my notes over here. Anyway. Yeah, those are 2 big things. Just keyboard shortcuts. Practice would be the third then, which I think we're all just going to do over time anyway.
And like we mentioned before, finding tools that work for you. I struggled with iZotope. I took multiple, I wrote about this in the newsletter, but I took multiple courses. I tried all kinds of different things. I did not click with it. And then a past guest talked about Acons, like Dereverberate, and there's another one, Voice Extract, I believe. And I love how it sounds. So I have now 2 effects that I use on a regular basis that just like blow the audio up in a really good way. And I love that. So it's not just going with what's popular, but it's going with what works for you.
Absolutely.
And Alex, you held up, I know, Neil, you have something to say, but Alex, you held up.
Which is like, I think I told Steve about it, but I don't think I converted him. So I used to do the keyboard. So I used to do the keyboard shortcuts, but like my left hand is to save, because I save every second, because terrible things happen when you don't save. So my left hand is just on Command S, and then my right hand, I program the shortcuts into, it has 12 buttons. So I never need to do anything except just pressing those buttons. And
do you use
okay, I'm jealous.
Yeah. I did get a vertical mouse, but I haven't programmed anything yet. So I'm curious. Sorry.
I'm just going to show you my mouse. There we are. It's a classic standard HP, $12.99 from Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's is a supermarket in the UK. That's what I use. I'm old school. That brings me out in hives, Alex, what you just showed us there. But it looks very cool. Jealous.
It was by accident, because my husband is a gamer, so it was his mouse, and I had a regular mouse. And I was like, hey, maybe I'll just try it. And then I'm like, I can never go back, because it's so much, for me, it's much faster than like doing all the keyboard shortcuts. So it's just whatever you are accustomed to. And I guess your dexterity.
Okay. So just a quick question, because I'm fascinated by this. When you're holding the mouse, wait, is yours vertical or horizontal? It's regular. Okay. So when you're holding it, how many fingers are you using with the shortcuts?
1, just your thumb. It's made for your thumb. Like
so how can you have 12 different options with just the thumb?
Thumb. Can you see?
Oh, so is it 12 different buttons?
12 buttons, yeah.
Whoa. So it's almost like dialing a phone, but
And you
you're
can
having
see that
different
they're
effects
like
happen.
tilted differently and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you can feel when you're
So
Oh,
not
sorry.
only
wow.
can you edit
Wait.
podcast episodes, but you can kick ass on Street Fighter at the same time. Perfect.
Maybe I should spend the time there.
Oh my gosh. Steve, how many do you have yours programmed too?
Yeah, because that now extends my ability. Remember, I try to keep all my keyboard shortcuts on my left hand, but
Yeah.
my right hand would be the one that usually would go like 7 through 0 on the top of the row.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I want to keep my left hand on my keyboard. So yes, I program the numbers as well, and it just becomes second nature. It takes a while, but it's just like anything.
Yeah.
You use keyboard shortcuts, you're going to learn them over time, and it just becomes. I forgot to update the keyboard shortcuts on my travel laptop. So when I went out of town, I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot. I don't have my mouse. I've got to do this old school way. What is this? I'm a caveman now. Just yeah. So it becomes so second nature that you can't live without it.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
And Neil, you were about to say something before I got mouse obsessed. Do you remember what that was?
Oh, good Lord. No, I'm just absolutely gobsmacked by the whole conversation. I'm just taking it all in. I'm watching. I'm not contributing anything here. I'm just watching, getting all the value like the viewers. Carry on. Have at it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, this is the part where I dislike the most, is where I show my challenge.
Go,
'Cause
Steph. We're here for you. Come
I'm
on.
so witty, and they
Yay.
seem so whiny. I feel like I'm whiny when I do this, and I don't want to be whiny. Oh, okay. So in the last live, Amelia and I were on like opposite ends, where she loved the business part and wanted to do less editing, and I was like, no, I want to do less business, more editing. And it dawned on me afterwards, like it was a slow seep over that day, that I was just like, I've been trying to force my work to be a business, and I don't want a business. I like the idea of freelancing. I have the editing, and now I've actually made money off of one of my podcasts last month. It was small, but it happened. I do podcast writing. Like, I've got the newsletter is now paid. Like, I've got different pockets, and I love variety. I like the variety a lot, but I feel like with the business, I can't have that variety because I'm supposed to niche down in one area and go super deep. And I like going deep in my different pockets. This is a weird analogy, but but I feel like there isn't the creative freedom that I want by saying that it's a business, and by doing, which I still haven't even done for obvious reasons, the paperwork to be a legitimate business instead of me just being a freelancer. And so I finally just said last week, I'm like, well, clearly I don't want to have a business, so I'm just going to, again, just frame myself as a freelancer. And I feel so much better. It's just a word. It's just a word. But it just...
Steph, what's the challenge then? Because you sound in a pretty good place.
Well, now I have to re-message everything, because I was kind of put everything out into the... Oh, here's the challenge. Sorry. Thank you for that. Keeping me on track. Is that I've put out all this stuff, like there's this business and everything's going great and I'm so busy. And now I'm trying to white label, and I don't think people are hearing me. I'm like, I want to work for you. I want to do less client stuff and more editing. But I think people hear all this stuff I put out before, which wasn't untrue, but it was like, things are going really well. I'm really busy. I don't have any time for anything. But now I'm like, I've pulled back. I've transitioned some clients out, and I want to do more editing for other people so I can work on my other projects myself. And I don't feel like people are hearing me because they're asking me for work. And I'm like, no, stop asking me for work. Somebody please listen when I ask you for work. So the challenge is transitioning my messaging so people hear that I'm actually looking for white label stuff.
You should have a podcast and talk about it on the show.
I was just going to say, that's a great podcast idea. Transitioning my podcast business.
How not to be a business. There.
I think Steph's probably thinking, oh my God, not another podcast that I've got to launch. Oh God.
I'll just timestamp this part. I don't know. It's just funny. It's just like, I don't know. Do people email you guys all the time saying, hey, I'm an editor looking for work. Here's my CV. Like,
I will say I did that to Steve when I was new. Let me work for you, Steve. Steve very politely declined.
Every single day, Steph, I'm looking for a job. I just want somebody to pay me to give up Podnose and just go and work for them, because no, I'm kidding. It is so much easier though. God, no, I don't work well with bosses. You know this.
Well, let's look at it a different way. And we were talking about, do you have to grow as a business? You also have to grow as an employee of a company.
Of
So it's
course.
also in this case where Steph is, she was going the entrepreneur route. She was growing everything and being the boss. And now let's take this into someone who works for a company,
Mhm.
and things are changing. They're getting more stuff put on their plate. They're starting to do roles that they weren't originally hired for. And they're like, you know what? I'm not a good fit here. I'd like to take a step back or take a lateral move. And that's what Steph's
Yeah.
trying to do here. She's taking a step back, lateral move. Maybe she's going to do some flex work. Maybe she just goes part-time. And that's just a life choice. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's proof once again that you either have to grow or your business, I think I said die, your business has to shrink. Shrinking is never actually good unless you choose to do it that way. So I retract Steph, you can go back and post and fix it. Change where I said die to shrink. Okay.
These aren't edited.
I think they're all good. I think there's too much focus. I feel like we're in an era of entrepreneurship where it's like, oh my God, you have to be an entrepreneur. What are you doing? Like that's the thing to do. But I feel like then we need everybody at every level. Like I want people to work for me who don't want to be entrepreneurs. Like, please continue to work for me and work well. I don't want you to go off and start your own business. So like people like you who want to be a freelancer, you are actually interested in what you're doing. Like it sounds like it was a difficult place to get to because you felt like maybe you should be doing a business, even though you didn't want to be doing a business. But
well, and part of it was exploration too. Like I didn't think I wanted a business, but then things were going well and I was feeling like this is a fun, like everything for me is an experiment, which is what it is. And so I was like, well, let me try it, let me see what this is like, and let me do everything myself, and let me set up all of the stuff and have my tax person and do all this, just all of it, all of the business stuff. And it's actually in finally reading Profit First that I was like, yeah, I don't want to be heavy on the business side. I don't even want to outsource a ton of the business stuff. I would prefer somebody else do that, and for me to do my experiments with my projects that continue to change, and then I can deep dive more into the tech stuff, because the business stuff is pulling me away from that. And that's not where I want to be. So it's not so much shrinking as it's, I think, reprioritizing.
It's a great opportunity to niche as well. I mean, your story that you're telling, it resonates massively with the story of a friend of mine who works not more than 10 miles down the road from me, actually. A lady called Annabelle, who's an ex-broadcaster as well. In fact, we worked at the same radio station at one point, and she's gone into podcasting, but she's gone a very niche route that she was sort of known when she was in radio as not. It sounds almost reductive to say this, but the girl producer on the shows that was bounced off the presenters, and that's what her niche is, that she now works with brands, and she's not doing the whole I'm going to manage your podcast for you thing as such. That obviously is something she does as part of that journey, but she's selling herself as the person that can sit and record the episodes with her clients as producer Annabelle. And when I saw what she was doing, obviously very different route from herself, and I thought, wow, that is a really great idea, because that was what she was known for in radio. It was very successful, and she's now very successful in podcasting because she's doing something. I mean, I don't offer to go on my clients' podcasts. There are one or two that I do, almost as a favor for bonuses and things like that. But my USP is not going on and being the co-host. My USP is managing the thing for them. So I think you've got an opportunity to identify what is it that Steph is known for? What does she do? And with the deep dives, you can be the person that can, add that element of your personality and your skill set to your clients of, well, okay, you want a deep dive? I know just how to do that for you. So yeah, great opportunity.
Wait, USP, unique
selling point.
Selling point. That's it. USP.
I thought it was unique selling proposition. Maybe it has.
Oh,
Maybe
it's
terms
a
overseas.
side thing. You guys take all of our words.
Your special sauce.
Copy US, so.
I will. Yes, I will. I'll follow your lead. Thank you. Unique selling point. Fewer words.
It probably is proposition. I probably got it completely wrong.
It's easier to say. When you said it, I'm like, I think I'm going to start saying point instead.
Whatever
There's
it
somebody in the
is.
comments saying that limey, he's completely wrong. Can you correct him, please, Steph?
Limey. That's why you have green in the background. It all
Yeah,
makes sense now.
it's me.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
lots of us. There's 7 people there. Wave. See? Sorry.
We've reached a new
Dad joke.
delirium state.
Yeah, we have.
Okay. All right. It's about that time to go around and remind people where they can find us to deep dive on the goodness that is us. Alex, can you start us off?
Sure. You can find me at listeners2clients.com on obviously our website. And my Instagram is alex.stennett.
Steve?
Great. Thanks for having me here. Steve Stewart from St. Louis, Missouri. Yay. 6 a.m. almost.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. You can find me. I if you're an editor, obviously I want you in the Podcast Editors Club on Facebook. Go join me there. And just to close out, well, I know Neil's going to talk, but one more thing about white labeling your work. I just refreshed the post in the Facebook group called Pitch Yourself. This is the place where if you're an editor and you want to go work for somebody else, put your information in that post as a comment. And then people who are looking to white label, to outsource work to you, can find you. And you'll find that just by searching Pitch Yourself in the Podcast Editors Club on Facebook.
Awesome. And PEA comes up about once every live that we do. So yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Neil.
Oh, you can't find me on the internet. I've
Okay.
gone into hiding. I've done a John Connor and gone off grid. No, I'm kidding. Neil at Podnose Podcasting. If you just search Podnose Podcasting and Neil, you'll probably find all my chaos.
Speaking of chaos, Global Podcast Editors, all of the links to everything we do and a ridiculous amount of words more is on our Substack newsletter at Global Podcast Editors. Yeah, all links, projects, resources, blah, 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 all that kind of good stuff. Sorry, I've run out of words right now. Thank you so much for Alex and Steve for waking up so ridiculously early in the morning, and for Neil for coming out of hiding to join us. And if anybody else wants to join us as a guest, you are more than welcome to. We rotate the time so that different editors in different time zones can join us and not wake up super early unless they want to. And that is in a link that I will put on here right now very
Thanks for
quickly.
having us.
Thank you. There we go.
Yes,
There's the
thanks so
link.
much. Very grateful for the opportunity to join the brilliant Steph on her podcasting adventures that continue to be brilliant. And because she won't do it herself, I always have to do this. Go check out Steph on all of the social media channels because she's brilliant. She was essentially a pioneer in podcasting. She started a hashtag. You're not doing that anymore, are you? But it's a brilliant hashtag because it gets people reviewing people's podcasts. And what can be better than that? You know, for all of us, we work blooming hard at what we do, and having a little bit of recognition for both ourselves and our clients through a little review is brilliant. So Steph is really someone worth following on all the socials, wherever you are, wherever you have internet. Get on there and follow Steph.
Thank you. That's super kind of you. Okay, so we're going now. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Alex, you're muted. Bye.
That's the weirdest wave ever. How about that? There we go.
Everybody stick around for 1 second. Well, if you're watching, don't stick around. We're done. But Alex, Steve, and Neil, stick around for 1 second while we sign off.